Discover the incredible strength within, 5 life-changing secrets to unleash your true potential. Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, heart racing as the cool autumn breeze whispered through the window. The leaves outside painted the world in fiery oranges and reds, but all she felt was a tightness in her chest. "Why do I keep dreaming of something greater?" she murmured to herself, glancing at the small desk piled high with crumpled notebooks and half-finished stories. Each page was a window into a world she longed to create, yet she kept it locked away, fearing what others might think. At 35, she was a single mom doing her best to make ends meet, serving plates of pancakes and coffee at the diner from dawn until dusk. Yet every clink of silverware and ring of the cash register felt like a call to her scattered dreams. She wanted to really write, but something always held her back. Was it the fear of losing her children, Zoe and Sam, to an ambition considered selfish in Maplewood's tight-knit community? One day, at the diner, as she filled a family's coffee mugs, she shared her big news with her friends. "I'm entering the annual writing competition. The prize could help so much." Their laughter echoed through the small space, but it was the kind tinged with disbelief. "Sarah, you? Writing? What about your kids?" Her heart sank. Were they really questioning her dedication? It stung deep. With every laugh, every sideways glance, she felt the walls of her dreams collapsing. The familiar comfort of Maplewood had turned cold. Days turned into sleepless nights, tossing between her mother's heart and writer's soul. She could hear whispers, feel the eyes of judgment judging whether she was abandoning her family for some fruitless ambition. She swallowed the whispers down, grappling with this invisible barrier between her and the life she yearned for. Just then, the voice of her brother Liam broke through the noise. A war veteran with his own scars and stories, he wasn't an ordinary big brother, he had conquered demons she barely understood. Their late-night talks became the safety net Sarah desperately needed. "You have a story worth telling, Sarah. It's not selfish to want more. You just have to fight for it." She started to remember her dreams, her passion igniting anew. But as the deadline loomed closer, doubts crept in again. What if she failed? What if the rejection crushed her, leaving her family behind while all she wanted was to inspire and explore? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the moment of submission drawing near, she paced her small living room, her nails digging into her palms. Just as she felt ready to send her story off into the world, her friends confronted her again, their frowns and accusations swirling chaos in her heart. "You think you're better than us now, Sarah?" Their words hit like daggers. The fear of rejection twisted painfully in her gut. But in that moment of confrontation, tears streaming down her cheeks, she realized something monumental. Was it better to fade silently into the shadows of conformity, or should she rise? As she closed her eyes to block out their voices, she took a breath so deep it felt like a vow. Just as she pulled out her laptop, ready to claim her voice, her past invaded the present. A familiar face appeared in the doorway. Was her past coming back to remind her of the chains she fought against, or would it offer a lifeline she desperately needed? The unknown loomed. Sarah froze, fingers hovering above the keyboard. A voice she thought she'd never hear again echoed in her mind, drowning out the whispers of doubt. Standing in the doorway was her estranged father, Mark. He looked older, the years etched into his skin, but his presence sent a rush of memories flooding back. "Sarah," he said tentatively, his voice breaking slightly. "Can we talk?" Her heart raced, but not from excitement. Anger and confusion swirled within her. He had ghosted her life for too long. After everything, how could he just walk back in like nothing happened? "What do you want?" She replied, her tone laced with bitterness. "I know I don't have the right to ask, but I've changed," he said, his eyes pleading. "I want to be a part of your life again." The air thickened with tension. How could he think she would accept him back after all this time? "You left, Dad," she exclaimed, stepping back as if to create distance not just physically but emotionally. "You chose to walk away when we needed you most." His shoulders sagged, the weight of his mistakes heavy. "I know. I regret it every day. I was scared, and I messed everything up." Sarah's heart pounded. It wasn't fear that kept her from writing, it was anger buried deep. Anger towards him for abandoning her, anger towards herself for believing his absence didn't hurt her, and anger at the world for making her feel like she had to choose between family and her dreams. "Why now?" she demanded. "Why should I believe anything you say?" "I've been working hard to become the father you deserve," Mark replied earnestly. "I've been trying to find ways to make amends. Can we start by talking? About you, about your writing?" Something cracked inside her, like a layer she hadn't known existed was breaking apart. Talk about her writing? After all this time? The walls she crafted around her dreams felt shaky. Could she really let him in, or would it lead to further disappointment? She wanted to deny him. She wanted to slam the door on his face, to refuse his attempts and protect the heart she fought so hard to rebuild. Yet his plea ignited a flicker of hope. Perhaps he meant it this time. Perhaps he could understand the battle she faced every day to carve out her identity beneath the label of mom. "Why would you care?" she challenged, folding her arms. "Because I saw your name on the board at the diner," he said, a hint of pride creeping into his voice. "Entering that writing contest, it made me realize how much you've grown. I want to know you. I want to support you." Her gaze softened momentarily, struck by the idea of someone believing in her dreams after so long. But fear lingered like a shadow in her mind. If he entered her life, would it be yet another chain added to those she struggled to break? "Can you really support me?" she asked quietly, vulnerability spilling through her walls. "Or will you leave again?" In the silence that followed, the weight of uncertainty hung heavy between them. Would this meeting continue to hurt her, or could it be the start of healing her past intersecting with her dreams? As she stood there, the laptop still open, Sarah faced a crossroads, torn between the life she wanted and the reconciliation she never expected to face. What path would she choose? Was it possible to embrace her father and her dreams without losing herself in the process? The thought roared in her mind, colliding with the calm before the storm. Could she rewrite her story with a new voice beside her, or was she destined to fight her battles alone? The silence was palpable, thickening the air around them. Sarah's heart raced, oscillating between the longing for connection and the fear of betrayal. She hadn't realized how much she craved that belief, the kind that came from someone who once knew her intimately, yet had chosen to walk away. "Why are you here now?" she whispered, her voice trembling. It wasn't supposed to matter. Years of absence shouldn't lead to this moment of precarious hope. Mark shifted, the uncertainty visible in his body language. "I'm here because I want to make things right. I know I can't erase the past, but I want to acknowledge it. I want you to know I see you, Sarah. I see everything you've done." Her breath caught. "You think it's that simple? You think you can just walk back in, throw around a few compliments, and expect me to believe you?" "Maybe," he said softly, "but I'm willing to put in the work. I want to learn about your writing process, how it makes you feel. I want to be there when you share your stories with the world." The words hung in the air, rich with possibility. Yet, the memories of lost engagements lingered like heavy fog. Would being vulnerable again leave her exposed, or could it strengthen her resolve? "You think you get it? You think you can just pick up where we left off?" Sarah's voice wavered, her anger unraveling into a painful honesty. "I've spent years building a life without you, learning to fill that void you left behind. I can't just forget all those moments, those nights I needed a dad to talk to guide me. Mark flinched at her words, and she noticed the tightening of his hands into fists. I know I hurt you. I know I failed you in every way. But please understand, I'm not asking you to trust me right away. Just give me a chance to show you who I am now. Who you are now. She shook her head, feeling like a storm of emotions churned inside her. That man doesn't erase the little girl who cried herself to sleep, wishing her father would come home. Mark's expression shifted to one of sorrow, his eyes darkening with regret. I can't change the past, but I want to help shape a better future together. Can we at least try? Her heart paused, caught in that moment. The world as she knew it split open, revealing pathways she had never imagined. What if she let him in? What if opening up allowed her to heal completely? I've worked too hard to get where I am, she said, every word a battle cry. And if I let you back in and you leave again, I don't know if I could handle that. I wouldn't, he said, reaching out a hand as if it could bridge the chasm of their history. I promise I'll stay this time. Just let me prove it to you. They locked eyes, an unspoken exchange of hope and fear swirling between them. For the first time, Sarah felt the faintest stirrings of trust, intertwined with the lingering need to protect her wounds. Trust was a currency she hadn't expected to barter with. As she looked at her father, a lifetime of hurts and hopes collided. Was she ready to risk it all for the chance of rekindled love? Could a single spark ignite a flame powerful enough to melt years of cold distance? Let's start slow, she finally said, her voice steady yet cautious. Maybe share a coffee and I'll tell you about the contest. About my dreams. A smile broke through Mark's somber demeanor, fragile yet genuine. That sounds perfect. As they settled into that tentative conversation, the laptop still lit with the flickering words once belonging only to her, Sarah realized she had taken the first step. But what awaited around the bend? Could she truly forge this new path with him beside her, or was it all just smoke and mirrors hiding yet another disappointment? And as that tension bubbled beneath the surface, an overwhelming question lingered: would the truth of his intentions become her nest of hope, or would it crumble into ashes? The coffee shop buzzed around them, a warm cocoon of clinking cups and soft chatter. Sarah could feel her heart harmonizing with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. She was nervous, her palms slightly sweaty against the cool ceramic of her mug. Mark sat across from her, watching her intently, as if he were trying to memorize every detail of her expressions. She couldn't help but notice how the years had changed him, too. His hair had grayed at the temples, but there was a softness in his gaze that hadn't been there before. So, tell me about this contest, he urged, leaning forward, genuine curiosity shining through. Sarah cleared her throat. It's a writing contest for emerging voices. I submitted a short story about a girl who finds solace in a garden while navigating a chaotic home life. I thought it would resonate, you know. As she spoke about her writing, a flicker of passion ignited in her chest. The words flowed more easily, each sentence reducing the heaviness that hung between them. For moments, it felt like they had slipped back to a happier time before the silence, before the distance. Mark listened like he had all the time in the world. That sounds beautiful. I can see why you'd want to share that, he said, genuine admiration painting his features. A tingle of pride washed over her at the compliment. It had been so long since she had felt that warmth radiating from him, and she feared it might dim just as quickly. Thanks, she said, a shy smile creeping across her face. But what if they don't like it? She suddenly asked, her voice dropping to a whisper. What if it's not good enough, or, worse, what if it's too personal? I mean, can you really share your heart and expect people to understand? His expression shifted to concern. You won't know until you try. And even if they don't get it, you've put your soul into it. That's what counts. It's part of the journey. His response mirrored the encouragement she had sought all those years. Yet doubt lingered, gnawing at her like an unanswered question. Did he really mean what he was saying, or was he just saying what she wanted to hear? As their conversation meandered through tentative topics, she felt the walls she'd built around herself slowly begin to dissolve. They discussed books, art, and her writing influences. Mark's eyes would light up whenever she mentioned a favorite author, and for every story she told, she caught a glimpse of the father she had longed for. But then, out of nowhere, a wave of jarring reality crashed over her. What if you change your mind? What if you regret this? The words came tumbling out, raw and unfiltered. You've left before. Why would now be any different? There it was, the unsaid fear that had cloaked her like a shadow. She watched as his expression hardened, the weight of her doubts palpable in the air. I can't deny the past or my mistakes, Sarah. Trust me, I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe I could change. Something inside her twisted painfully. You say that, but after all this time how do I know it's true? For a moment, silence wrapped around them like a dense fog, both grappling with their own uncertainty. Mark's hands trembled slightly as he took a deep breath, his voice steadying. If I can't prove it to you, then I'll leave. No questions asked. But I'm here now, and I want to try for you. The finality of his declaration hung in the air. She wanted to believe him, to step forward into a future that glimmered just out of reach. But the cautionary tales of her heart warned her to be careful. As they sat once more in the coffee shop, the world around them buzzed on, seemingly unaware of the epiphanies unfolding at their small table. What would she choose? Step back into the warmth of potential connection or wallow in the familiarity of solitude? And then, as if sensing her turmoil, Mark leaned in closer and asked, Can you tell me something you've never shared with anyone before? The question sparked inside her like a match striking flame. A path to trust or a leap into the unknown? Would this be the moment that would truly change everything? Sarah took a deep breath, her heart racing. The moment felt loaded, thick with possibilities and unspoken words. Could she really unveil what she had kept buried for so long? Mark's steady gaze encouraged her to push through the fear that threatened to choke her words. Okay, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. There is something I write about in my stories that I've never really told anyone. This thing that happened when I was a kid. She paused, uncertainty gnawing at her, but the sincerity in Mark's eyes urged her to continue. It was the summer after Mom left. I was feeling lost, like I was drifting through a fog. One day, I found this old shed in our backyard. Inside, there was a tiny garden, overgrown but somehow beautiful. I could smell the flowers, it was like they held memories of happier times. Mark leaned in even closer, his focus unwavering. What did you do? She shook her head, emotions swelling within her. I started going there every day. I would talk to the flowers, pretend they were listening. I even wrote stories about them. It was my escape. But I also felt ashamed, like I was some kind of weirdo. Why ashamed? He asked, genuine curiosity lacing his tone. Because I thought it was childish. I never wanted anyone to see me like that. So I hid my stories, buried them just like my feelings. I thought if I ignored them, maybe they'd go away. Mark's face softened. But they didn't go away, did they? No, she admitted, a sigh escaping her lips. They just grew inside me, tangled into everything I wrote. And that left me feeling exposed, like I was unworthy. His brow furrowed. Unworthy of what? Your voice. Your story. Exactly, she said. And that's why this contest scares me. Pouring my heart into something feels like handing someone a loaded gun. What if they pull the trigger? A silence stretched between them, heavy with unprocessed emotions. Mark's eyes held a mixture of empathy and respect that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't experienced in years. You've carried that burden for so long, Sarah. But this could be the first step to freedom, he said gently. Writing your truth isn't weak, it's profoundly courageous. It shows you're ready to be heard. She felt the warmth of his encouragement seep into her, piercing the layers of self-doubt. Maybe he was right. Maybe now was the time to reclaim her voice. Mark, if I do this, it won't just be about the contest. It's about confronting everything I've pushed aside. It's about vulnerability. There's strength in vulnerability, he replied, his voice steady and reassuring. You're not alone in this. Not anymore. Her heart fluttered at his words. Could he really mean it? Just then, laughter erupted from a nearby table, breaking the moment. Sarah glanced over, startled by the intrusion. When she turned back to Mark, she noticed a flicker of hesitation in his eyes, as if a thought was wrestling to be released. What is it? She asked, sensing he had more to share. He hesitated, but then held her gaze. There's something I've been meaning to tell you, something I've avoided, some truth of my own. But I don't know if it's the right time. An electric pulse of fear squeezed her chest. What could he possibly say that might change everything again? I want to know. She exclaimed, urgency rising in her voice. Please, tell me. The tension built between them, poised on the precipice of revelation. Mark's lips parted, and just before delivering his truth, a familiar figure walked into the coffee shop, the door swinging wide. Sarah's stomach dropped. It was her mother. Abandonment and longing warred within her. Unraveled, she turned away, swallowing hard. What did this mean for her? What's wrong? Mark asked, concern etched on his face. Everything, she whispered, eyes glued to the door. Would the past reclaim her entirely? Would she have the courage to confront it? As she stared at her mother, Sarah knew a reckoning was at hand, a moment that might shatter the very foundations of her reopening heart. Would she embrace the chaos, or retreat into the safety of solitude? Sarah's breath caught in her throat as her mother moved further inside the coffee shop, scanning the room with an air of casual indifference. It felt surreal, like a scene from one of her own stories where the protagonist is faced with a ghost from the past. Mark's voice was steady beside her. You don't have to face her alone, Sarah. The warmth in his tone felt like a lifeline. But could she trust him? Just minutes ago, she had been the one ready to share her truth, and now her world was tipping upside down. She blinked away unwanted tears, feeling exposed both before her mother and Mark. Suddenly, every secret she had hoarded felt heavy in the air. Why now? She murmured, almost to herself. Why after all this time? Maybe she's hoping to find some connection, Mark suggested gently, still watching her. Or maybe it's more about you than her. Those words struck a chord. Maybe the moment had come, not just for her mother to ask for forgiveness but for Sarah to claim her own voice. The atmosphere shifted as her mother approached their table. Sarah's hands turned clammy, her heart racing once more. Hi, Sarah. The simple greeting bore a weight of years unspoken. Hi, Sarah replied, her voice barely audible. She felt Mark's reassuring presence next to her, like an anchor. Her mother glanced at Mark, squinting slightly, uncertain. Is this someone important? Before Sarah could respond, anger boiled beneath the surface. Important? Mark was here, right here with her, and their shared moment felt sacred. Maybe more important than you realize, Sarah shot back lightly, though her insides twisted. Her mother's jaw tightened, and Sarah saw a flicker of guilt in her eyes. Why are you here? Sarah interrupted, urgency thrumming through her. What do you want? I wanted to talk, to see you, to apologize, her mother said, the final word hanging in the air like a challenge. I know it's been years, but I've missed you. A cocktail of disbelief and hope brewed inside Sarah. Missed her? These words didn't fit well with the woman who had walked out the door years ago without looking back. Mark shifted slightly in his seat, giving Sarah space. His eyes were locked on her, waiting. Did you miss me when you left? The question came out sharper than she intended. Her mother inhaled deeply. I was lost, too. I thought leaving would help you and your brother find a better life. Did it? Sarah shot back. She felt the veil of years of silence shredding. I didn't think it through. I see that now, her mother admitted, her voice trembling. But Sarah, life isn't simple. I've made mistakes, and I want to try and make things right. Can you give me a chance? The room felt charged. Every eye in the shop seemed to rest on them, but Sarah couldn't care less. Was it her chance to reclaim everything? The betrayal, the hurt, the longing. She needed to decide, could she risk the chance of reopening wounds for a thread of connection that might still hurt? Mark's presence reminded her of strength, his quiet encouragement resonating within her. Maybe facing her mother wasn't about forgiving her but about freeing herself. Why should I? Sarah asked, her heart pounding, her voice steady. The silence stretched, each second a testament to the rawness of vulnerability. Would her choice lead her forward or drown her in the past? And then, just as the tension reached its peak, the door swung open again. This time, it was a figure she never expected to see. Sarah. There you are. Her brother, Jacob, marched in, grinning widely. But as he spotted their mother, that smile faltered. What is going on? He asked, his gaze darting between the two women. Sarah's heart raced anew. The stakes had just risen again. Was she about to confront the past or sink deeper into it? Everything is about to change, she breathed, wondering if she could handle it all. Could they really face it together? Jacob's voice cut through the charged atmosphere, drawing attention like a spotlight. He stood there, wide-eyed and shifting from one foot to the other, caught in the crossfire of emotions swirling around their table. What is going on? He repeated, confusion etched across his face. Sarah clenched her fists. Would he understand? Had he ever felt the weight of their mother's absence, the years marked by an empty chair at family dinners? She opened her mouth to respond but faltered when their mother spoke. Jacob, she said softly, a hesitant plea in her tone. I wanted to see your sister, and well, it's more complicated than you know. Jacob tilted his head. Complicated how? Maybe it's not the time for this, Sarah interjected, cutting through the awkward tension. She felt the heat rising in her cheeks and glanced at Mark, who sat attentively, emitting calmness just by being there. No, it is the time, her mother said, her voice firmer now. You both deserve answers. Sarah felt her stomach twist. Did she really want answers? What if the answers opened new wounds? What if they revealed truths she wasn't prepared to confront? Look, Jacob said, trying to untangle the chaos. I wasn't expecting to see you here, Mom. Seriously. After all these years, why now? I wanted to make things right, their mother replied, her voice steady but filled with an emotion Sarah had never heard from her before. I've seen how my decisions affected both of you, and I regret it every day. Tears pricked at the corners of Sarah's eyes. Regret? Was that supposed to be enough? The years spent wondering, the nights of silence, and the unanswered questions. A lump formed in her throat as she faced both her mother and her brother. Mark took her hand under the table, squeezing it gently. His strength was a calm in her storm, grounding her in the moment. Can we talk this through? Mark spoke up, now looking at both women, his voice steady and confident. It seems like there's a lot to unpack. Maybe we just need to be honest with each other. So, what? You think spilling our guts will fix everything? Sarah's bitterness slipped out before she could stop herself. She turned to her mother. It's not just about you. It's about all the years you chose to be absent. I get it, Jacob chimed in, his voice a mix of frustration and support. We grew up without a mom. That's not something you just fix over coffee and a sorry. The weight of her brother's words landed with a thud. The reality of their shared pain brought tears to Sarah's eyes, blurring her vision. She swallowed hard, trying to navigate the torrent of emotions washing over her. "I don't want to fight," their mother said quietly, her expression shifting. "I came here hoping we could share some of that hurt, not carry it alone anymore." The coffee shop felt suffocating. Every eye seemed to gravitate toward their table, eager for a glimpse into a family drama that was raw and real. But Sarah couldn't push through the protective barrier she had built for years. "I don't know if I'm ready," she confessed, her voice trembling. "It feels safer to keep it all inside." Jacob's gaze softened, and he leaned in. "You won't have to face this alone. We're all in this together, right?" Mark nodded, the connection between them palpable. Just as the atmosphere felt like it might shift towards something new, the door swung open once more, and the sound of laughter erupted from a group of friends entering. The contrast stung sharply, a reminder of how life carried on even as they stood on the brink of a turbulent moment. "I know it's scary," Jacob said, breaking through the noise. "But maybe it's time we face this together and find a way to heal. Could they really transform this mess into something meaningful?" Sarah took a deep breath, looking from her brother to her mother, then back to Mark. Was she willing to embrace the chaos and risk everything for the chance of connection? "Maybe we need to talk somewhere else," she suggested, her heart pounding. Mark's eyes lit up with encouragement, and hope ignited within Sarah, mixing with fear. They were on the verge of either a breakthrough or complete disaster. "I'll follow your lead," he said, his confidence bolstering her. Would she take that leap of faith into the unknown, or retreat into the comfort of silence once more? The choice flickered there, alive and demanding. As Sarah pushed her chair back, the room seemed to hold its breath. Together, they could either walk away or venture into the messy truth, but uncertainty loomed ahead. "What if we regret it?" she whispered, the doubt echoing in the air. "Then we'll face that too," Jacob said firmly. The stakes were higher than ever, and Sarah felt her heart racing as she stepped forward, ready to confront whatever awaited them all. What lay beyond that door? The door creaked open, pulling in a rush of crisp autumn air. It sent a shiver through Sarah, but it also sparked a glimmer of courage within her. She glanced back at the small, bustling cafe one last time before stepping outside. The sound of clinking cups and hushed conversations faded as sunlight enveloped them, illuminating the uncertainty that hung in the air. "Where to?" Jacob asked, glancing around the street. The cafe was safe, known yet suffocating, too. Outside, the world buzzed, a reminder that family issues often unfolded amidst the chaos of everyday life. "How about the park?" Sarah suggested, her voice steadier than she felt. There was something about the idea of open space that calmed her nerves. "We can walk and talk." Mark nodded, his warm presence like an anchor as they made their way through the bustling town. Sarah felt the chatter of onlookers surrounding them dissipate as they stepped into the sheltering embrace of the park. The trees stood tall, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze, casting dancing shadows on the ground. Sarah could feel her heart thumping wildly. This was the moment for confrontation, healing, whatever came next. Jacob walked alongside her, occasionally stealing glances as if testing the waters. As they reached a quieter area of the park, Sarah paused, needing a moment to gather her thoughts. "Okay, here we are." She took a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent of fallen leaves, grounding herself amidst the whirlwind of emotions. "Mom," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "Why now? After all these years, what makes you think it's okay to just show up and ask for forgiveness?" "Because I'm tired of running," her mother answered, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "For too long, I hid from my mistakes instead of confronting them. I thought I was protecting you by staying away, but all it did was create a chasm between us." Each word pulled at Sarah's heart, but she hesitated. Was that enough? You can't just say you're sorry and expect us to be fine. Regret doesn't erase the past. "I know it doesn't," their mother said softly. "But I wish I could turn back time. I want to try to repair things while there's still time, while we still have each other." Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks, unbidden, as the weight of years without a mother pressed on her chest. You don't understand the silence that filled our house, the birthdays, the graduations, the empty chair that would never be filled. Jacob stood still, watching the exchange. It all hurt us, Mom. We needed you and you weren't there. We just want the truth now. No more excuses. His voice was strong, but Sarah could hear the cracks, his own vulnerability surfacing. Their mother simply nodded, clearly struggling to find the right words. The truth is messy and painful. I didn't know how to deal with it, with my own emotions. But running away was wrong. As silence settled between them, Sarah felt something shift. Maybe they could forge a path through this chaos, starting with honesty. Okay, she said, wiping her tears. Let us talk. Not just about why you left, but about everything, the impact it had on us. All of it. Mark squeezed her hand tighter. She could sense his unwavering support, a lifeline amidst family upheaval. I'll share everything, Sarah's mother promised, her voice trembling. But we need to be open. It's time to unwrap these wounds if we expect to heal. Jacob exhaled, an idea invigorating him. We can do this, together. No more hiding. Just truth. What felt impossible now felt like the single step they all needed, and Sarah took a breath that held a new weight, a mixture of fear and anticipation. As they continued walking, each step seemed to bring them closer to answers, but in the depths of Sarah's mind, a new fear flickered. Could their family truly handle the truth? The tension hung heavy in the air as they moved forward, leaving the past behind step by step. And yet, as they approached a secluded bench, Sarah's chest tightened with one final concern: if they opened this door, would it lead to healing or more heartache? The uncertain answer loomed large. As they reached the bench, the world around Sarah faded into a blur. The crunch of leaves underfoot, the distant laughter of children playing, it all melted away. She felt the weight of the moment pressing in on her, the kind of weight that could crush or liberate. Why don't we sit? Mark suggested gently, his voice breaking through her thoughts like a ray of light. He glanced at Sarah's mother, who looked lost in thought, her eyes flickering with vulnerability and fear. The three of them settled onto the weathered wood, the sun casting dappled patterns through the branches above. Sarah could feel the anticipation crackling in the air, almost electric. Jacob shifted slightly, leaning in as if drawing strength from their collective presence. Okay, their mother said, her voice quavering. I'll start. I left because it felt like the only option at the time. I didn't know how to handle being a mother, and my own past was haunting me. I thought if I disappeared, you'd be better off. Sarah clenched her fists, trying to absorb the confession. But it only made things worse. It broke us, it broke you. The anger bubbled just below the surface, mixed with an undeniable need for clarity. Tears brimmed in their mother's eyes as she nodded appreciatively at Sarah's honesty. I see that now. I see how my choices affected you both. It wasn't just my pain, it was yours, too. And for that, I am so sorry. Sorry isn't enough, Jacob interjected fiercely, his jaw set. We need more than words. We need to know why you chose this, why you thought running away would help. Their mother took a deep breath, visibly wrestling with the past while appearing fragile. I was lost. After everything that happened with your father, I couldn't face the possibility of failing again. I was terrified of not being good enough, of letting you down. This surfaced a deep hurt in Sarah's chest. So, you just decided to abandon us instead? Each word came out sharper than she intended, but the frustration clawed at her throat. You didn't think about how that would destroy us? No, I didn't her mother whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. And I won't pretend I have an excuse that makes sense. All I can say is that I want to learn about you, about myself, about being the mother you deserve. Mark's grip on Sarah's hand tightened, a silent offer of comfort. We need to understand the journey that led you to that choice. Every step brought us here, but it also left scars. Scars that I want to help heal, their mother said, her voice low but resolute. For a moment, the atmosphere lightened. There was a flicker of hope, the possibility of rebuilding from the ashes of hurt. But as Sarah looked into her mother's glistening eyes, a nagging question lingered. Could they truly find a way back together? What if the truth couldn't bridge the gap but only plunged them deeper into the emotional chasm? She opened her mouth to speak, but the words tangled in her throat. The air felt thick, suffocating yet charged with the promise that perhaps something good could come from this. She started, unsure of what to say or where to direct this raw vulnerability. But before she could continue, a distant shout broke through the moment. The sound of laughter faded into something resembling panic as a small crowd gathered nearby, a child's voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. Help! Someone's hurt. The sudden urgency jolted them from their emotional bubble. Sarah shot a glance at Jacob, who was already on his feet, instincts kicking in. Without thinking, she followed his lead, her heart racing again for an entirely different reason. Wait! Their mother called out, desperation creeping back into her voice, but they were already moving. In an instant, the breakthrough they were searching for was overshadowed by the weight of an emergency, pulling them further into the chaos of the world outside their private struggle. Would they have the chance to return to their conversation after this? Sarah's mind raced, both anxious and hopeful. She had come here seeking answers, but now uncertainty loomed larger than before. And as they sprinted toward the escalating chaos, she couldn't shake off one thought: what if this incident held the key to unearthing deeper truths that could either jeopardize or empower them all? As Sarah and Jacob rushed toward the growing crowd, adrenaline surged through her veins. Panic swirled, twisting with the remnants of her earlier emotional confrontation with their mother. The chaotic sounds overwhelmed her, a cacophony of shouts and cries echoed through the park. She clutched Mark's hand tightly, his presence a reassuring anchor amid the storm. Where is it? Jacob called out, urgency in his voice as he pushed through the onlookers. They arrived at a scene that made Sarah's heart drop. A little boy lay on the ground, crying, his knee scraped raw and bloodied. Parents were flocking around, murmuring a jumble of questions and concerns, breaking the sacred tension of their conversation just moments before. I can help. Sarah heard Jacob say, instinct kicking in as he knelt beside the boy. Sarah stayed close, wanting to support her brother while feeling an innate instinct to protect herself from the chaotic shift in emotions. The little boy looked up at Jacob with wide, frightened eyes as he fumbled to comfort him. Hey, you're going to be okay, Jacob said soothingly, applying pressure to the scrape expertly while a wave of calm radiated from him. Mark stepped close to Sarah, whispering, You okay? She nodded, but her mind was racing back and forth between fear and the unfinished conversation left with her mother. Suddenly, their mom appeared beside them, her hands trembling as she knelt and offered a soft touch to the boy's shoulder, her maternal instincts resurfacing. What happened? She asked, her voice gentle, filled with genuine concern. As they all leaned in, the boy sniffed and cried, I tripped. I wanted to run. His words hit Sarah with unexpected strength, the longing for freedom sparking a memory of her own struggles with identity and the yearning to find her place in the world. Running can be fun, Jacob reassured him, but sometimes it leads to a fall. We've all fallen before. The boy's tears began to fade, comforted by the care surrounding him. Just as Sarah began to feel a sense of pressure easing, she pushed back the swell of unresolved emotions. Do you need a band-aid? Jacob asked, shifting the boy's attention to him. It was an astute move, pulling everyone's focus together in a moment that felt unifying. The kid nodded, a timid smile beginning to surface as Jacob produced a small first aid kit from a nearby parent who had rushed over. As she witnessed Jacob's nurturing side emerge, Sarah felt the warmth spreading through her chest. The boy was laughing now, momentarily forgetting his pain, the wound turning into a lesson of resilience. See? Their mother chimed in, her voice hinting at vulnerability again. We learn from our falls, both big and small. And just like you, we need people around to help us when we hurt. Sarah's breath caught as she turned toward her mother. The words held a deeper meaning. It was everything they needed to acknowledge in order to heal as a family. Maybe this incident was more than just chaos, it was a chance to connect amidst the storm of their lives. Sure enough, after the cut had been bandaged and the boy dazzled with excitement at his newfound superhero status, the mood lightened. Jacob stood tall, puffed up with pride over the small victory. As laughter reclaimed the space, Sarah felt a shift in herself. The cycle of confrontation was momentarily halted, and in that instant, she realized the depth of connection found in shared experiences, the collective struggle and healing that was life. "Can we get ice cream now?" Jacob asked playfully, eliciting further giggles and murmurings from the crowd. The boy's small voice chimed in excitedly, "Yes. I love ice cream. Looks like there's a small celebration to be had," Mark said, his eyes glimmering with happiness. In an unexpected whirlwind, Sarah felt a flicker of hope reigniting within her. They were amidst a small act of kindness, the universal language of caring wrapping around them. A bond was being formed, one that transcended years of hurt and misunderstandings. "Let us go get some ice cream," their mother suggested, a soft smile spreading across her face. "It will be fun." The others nodded enthusiastically, moving as one. The laughter bubbled up around them, it felt lighter, almost like a clean slate. Sure, the conversations with their mother were still pending, but this moment of joy sparked newfound resolve, a reminder that healing didn't just come from heavy discussions but also from allowing joy and connection to flow freely. As they wandered down the path toward the nearby ice cream shop, hand in hand, Sarah breathed in the crisp autumn air anew. The sun beamed down, the warmth cozy against her skin. Maybe they would discover their truth in the laughter, in the shared smiles that marked the beginning of rebuilding their familial bond. And beneath it all, a newfound resolve unfurled within her, acknowledging the power of vulnerability and connection. The unfinished story didn't just belong to her, it belonged to all of them now. She looked around at the faces she adored, her heart swelling. Their journey wasn't just hers anymore. "What flavor are you getting?" Jacob asked, breaking through her train of thought. "I'm thinking mint chocolate chip," she replied, a smile bubbling up. "Good choice." He beamed, and the carefree banter continued as they journeyed forward together, open to whatever lay ahead. That urgency she'd felt to confront her past had transformed, not into a battle but a path toward healing. The space for vulnerability was opening between them. She believed in the chance for connection, and she would use that strength to fuel the writing that awaited within her, ready to be unleashed at last. As they reached the shop, with laughter spilling into the air and hearts bursting with hope, Sarah felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Each moment of fear, doubt, and conflict had led her here, to this moment of light breaking through darkness. They were healing, they were together. And that was where true potential lived. Now was their time to rise together, and beneath her skin thrummed a new narrative waiting to be told, alive and ready for the world. So she turned to her family, the corners of her lips lifting, and whispered a resolute promise to herself, "This is just the beginning." And as they stepped into the ice cream shop, the door closed behind them, settling the buzzing hopes of yesterday, the dawn of a new story, woven together by the fragile yet unbreakable thread of family. Now is your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. Don't wait not even one more second to share this breathtaking journey with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let your voice be heard. Comment below with your thoughts and reactions to this emotional conclusion. Your feedback matters. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.